Hey everybody, my name is Cristi McGowan. I'm a real estate broker here in Waco, Texas. I'm the owner of the Waco Home Team and WHT Properties, and I wanted to welcome you to today's episode of Ask Me Anything. This is a program where we try to answer questions about the real estate process, real estate terms, legal mumbo jumbo. There's nothing too simple or silly or stupid. And what we want to do is to try to educate you, to create transparency in the process, and hopefully make the whole transaction go a lot smoother, easier, and less stressful for everyone involved. So today we're going to talk about home inspections and home inspectors. Certainly when you're buying a home, you want to know as much as possible about that particular property, and hiring a home inspector is a great way to learn more about the condition of that property. We always recommend that you hire an inspector that is TREC licensed, and we say TREC, here we go with the acronyms again, but we mean Texas Real Estate Commission, and they monitor and regulate the licenses for home inspectors and real estate agents and appraisers and pretty much everyone involved with the real estate process. They offer common standards of practice, certifications, testing, education, and things of that nature. So we want you to hire a TREC inspector because we know that they have been licensed and thoroughly vetted, background checks and all of that stuff. So what is a home inspection, right? So this is a visual examination of the house's structure and its systems by a trained inspector. And so what does that typically cover? So a TREC inspector is going to look at the foundation, the roof. They're going to crawl up in the attic and take a look at all the structural components. They're going to look at the insulation, but they're also going to look at the walls, ceilings, windows, doors, anything that's attached to the home. And then on top of that, they're going to look at all the electrical, the heating, air conditioning, the plumbing systems. If you have a pool, sometimes they can look at the pool equipment. Sometimes they are trained to inspect septic systems. Sometimes they're not. Most of them are not trained to do wood destroying insects. That is a completely different license. So for your carpenter ants, termite reports, those sorts of inspections, you're going to want to have a separate inspector for that typically. But basically that's what an inspection was going to cover. Now it's important to keep in mind that they are only going to inspect, like I said, what is visible and accessible. So if you are looking at a home before you hire the inspector, if you notice there are some boxes stacked up in the garage against the closet where the air conditioning unit probably is, you're going to want to have the seller move those items out of the way so that the inspector can access that closet. And that goes for everything in the house: clothes, boxes, shoes, things that are stacked. They're not going to pull appliances out, move couches and things like that. But they will report things to you that look like they are concerned. Sometimes they, inspectors are jack of all trades, master of none. So if they call things into question like electrical codes, things of that nature, you might want to hire a specialist, an electrician, to come and look at that a little bit further. So who regulates home inspectors? So as we've already talked about, TREC, the Texas Real Estate Commission, that tests and licenses home inspectors. They offer them, or they are required to actually use a common form and follow certain standards of practice. So, for example, the issue that we see, or the challenge that we see when this comes into play, is that if a home is a little bit older, and when that home was built, it was likely built to code, but it was built to code when it was built, and it is highly likely that that code has changed. So if you built a home today, it would be built differently than it was if it was built in the 1970s. So even though that home was built properly back in the 1970s, it doesn't match up with today's code, and even though it's not a default or a defect, the inspector is still required by their standards of practice to put that on the report. And oftentimes they'll tell you this is an as-built condition. It doesn't meet today's code, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is defective or an issue. Sometimes at that point they will recommend that you have, it's a lot of times has to do with electrical items, and they'll recommend that you have an electrician come out and look at that particular property. And certainly your realtor can help facilitate that and keep you within the time frame of the option period. So anyway, that is all about home inspection. If you have any follow-up questions, please post them in the comments below. If you have any other questions about real estate or the real estate process, home buying or home selling, we're happy to add that to our next episode. Leave that in the comments below, or you can also direct message us. Again, thanks for watching and have a great day.